Hey friend, welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. I'm Gabby Flater, a faith-led wife, mom of 3, certified nutrition consultant, personal trainer, and passionate about changing lives. I know how frustrating it can be to navigate the health and wellness world. You want to be motivated to prioritize your well-being and wish you were more educated when it comes to cultivating a healthy home. Maybe you're a mom who's completely burnt out and needs a fresh perspective on life, or you're searching for a place to feel seen, heard, and encouraged in a godly manner. No matter if you're doing the dishes, getting your sweat on, or drinking reheated coffee while watching the kids play, there is always an opportunity for growth. If you are ready to finally take action about these desires and are ready to learn, grow, and transform your mind, then you are in the right place. It's time to establish deeper roots so you can enjoy a more fruitful and fulfilling harvest. Let's dig in. Hey friends, welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. My name is Gabby and I am so excited today to be sharing my birth story. It has been a long time coming and I am excited to share the experience and the journey with you. I will be honest, a lot of it, it happened so fast and a lot of things were a blur. So I was trying to type up my general thoughts and what I remembered and then asked my husband a couple questions. And then we actually had my mom attend my birth this time. And she journaled it. Isn't that so sweet? Some ladies at her church encouraged her to journal the birth. So that's what she did. And it was super helpful because I was like, hey, Mom, I want to record a podcast today. Can you send me over the notes? I know you want to rewrite them because she wants to rewrite some of the things and make it look nicer. And so she sent me the pictures. And I was like, oh, I had some things completely out of order. But like I've said, I love sharing my birth stories. I love me a good birth story. I love listening to them, chatting about them, because they're all just so unique and so different and just incredible how powerful and miraculous like women's bodies are and just birth in general. Like these little humans come out of you with 10 fingers and 10 toes and fingernails and ears that are, symmetrical and like just no matter how many children I would have, it would just always never cease to amaze me. So whether you've birthed a child or are expecting your first or aren't planning on having children at all, but you love listening to these, like, hey, wherever you're at, I welcome you here, and I'm excited to share and just have this as a memory to look back on and listen to, and I'll probably end up typing one up as well and have that to look back on. So a little bit of prior history. So I have 3 other children, and my oldest is 6. He was born in 2017. And so I had him about, he was 6 days early. My second was 3 or 4 days early. And then my third, I had 2 boys, and then my third was a girl. She was 2 weeks late. Late in air quotes. They come when they come. That was really hard on my mind. And then this new one came 6 days early, just like her biggest brother. So that was just super sweet. And I had a feeling she was coming early. I couldn't tell you why, but I just kept talking she's not going to wait till the 16th. There's no way. I feel she's coming. I feel she's coming soon. There were a couple dates that I didn't want her to land. Well, just one really in particular. I didn't want her to land on the 13th. That was just March 13th. That was just a hard day. Remembering someone I had lost, and I just wasn't really sure I wanted to share that day. So I think emotionally and mentally, my body just wasn't going to give birth on that day. So anyway, she came on March 10th. Now my first 2, my boys, my water broke before anything. Now, that's not typically common. I should have looked up the statistic. I don't know how common it is for women's waters to break prior to going into labor, like contractions. Maybe I can look it up. Water breaking before, you can hear me typing, before contractions. Let's see. How common is it? Let's see. Does it give me, if your water breaks before you go into labor, this is known as the premature rupture of the membranes. This occurs in only about 8 to 10% of women. For most moms to be, the water breaks once they are in labor. Okay, well, then apparently I was in the 8 to 10% of women for my first 2 births. I remember I was having major low back pain with my first, so I went and stretched and did some yoga, and I was in pigeon pose, and all of a sudden I felt a pop. And I waddled down the stairs, and I was like, Alex, I'm pretty sure I did not just pee my pants. And then with my second, we were gone at a family fellowship dinner, and we had tacos and everything, and I was feeling fine that night. And we get home at 10 or 10:30, and I get out of the car. Literally, we drove all the way home, parked in the garage. I open the door and get out, and as I stand up, I feel this gush of water come out of me. And I was like, said the same thing. I think my water just broke, because I definitely did not just pee my pants. So that was pretty wild. Juliet, nothing happened. Nothing. I had my membrane stripped to try and induce labor on basically 41 weeks and 7 days or 6 days, because we needed to kind of spur things along. And I was wanting to do the least invasive, so we did that. And yeah, that's a whole nother story. So this one, water did not break either to start contractions. So that is, okay. So I'll just say I didn't know I was in labor. I kind of denied it. So we'll just preface that. And the reason being is because my water broke with the first 2, and I knew things were going to happen. Like it's the baby's coming. Like it's just going to happen. Juliet, I basically was forced into labor. Not forced, but like, baby needs to come. And I was, ready for her to come. And so we did the membrane stripping, and then they kept me at the hospital. I labored at the hospital the entire time. I would never want to redo that one ever again in my life. So my water didn't break until about 15-20 minutes before she was born. And yeah, so that one, like, I was prepared for the contractions and all of that stuff to come. Like, it was going to happen. It was going to be happening that day. And this one was just, it all happened at home. So I wasn't able to labor at home with my last one because I was so late. The hospital was freaking out. And I was like, okay, well, let's take a chill pill. I'll get my membrane stripped at 42 weeks and we'll go from there. So I wasn't able to labor at home because then they were just like, we're just going to keep you at the hospital. And so, yeah, that was that one. And then this birth, my contractions had started the night before, and I apparently, I was in early labor all of Thursday, the 9th or whatever, because she was born on the 10th, yeah, and I didn't really know it. So what I had always kept saying, though, is that I would want to redo my second birth, my Titus's. It was perfect. My water broke, but then I labored at home for as much of it as I could, which I prefer to do in the comfort of my home. But we also, with a disclaimer, I would redo it, but I would want just a little bit more time at the hospital. Get there with a little more time, because he was born within like 30 minutes of us getting to the hospital. I was cutting it a little too close. So this one, we gave ourselves just a little more time, but it was very much like Titus's birth, and I'll touch on that. So the goal was to have an unmedicated birth, That is what my goal has always been. And we worked really well with the hospital that we live near. And they have been so wonderful in respecting our birth plan and chatting with us about it. And we're, by now, fourth kid, we're pretty established there. They can look at our history. They kind of know the drill when they see my charts and all the things. And we are willing to talk to them. We're open to, if we got to consider other options, if we need to be flexible, if they need to be flexible, like we're willing to vouch for ourselves. We're willing to use our voice. We're willing to say no. We're willing to consider other things when needed. So it's a little bit of give and take. But overall, like, we love the nurses at the hospital that we live by. And I told Alex, like, any chance that we happen to have another one and we have moved a little further away or whatever, you better believe we're hiking out to this hospital. I mean, if we're out of state, obviously not, but we're going to this hospital or we're having a home birth. Just saying. But I'm not really thinking about another child right now. That is not on my brain. I have a lot to keep up with. So the goal was unmedicated and to labor at home for majority of it. And that did happen. Like I said, I was feeling like she was going to come early, and she did. She came 6 days. She came on March 10th. And this is the hardest time on our family to have a baby, with it being tax season. So it was never really going to be a better day on a different day, but she actually happened to land on a weekend. So it honestly worked out well. And, Alex was able to be present from, he worked a half day Friday up until we left for the hospital. He works from home. And then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, he was off, which he typically works Saturdays and Mondays. So he really, he took off work, all of those, because it's just heavy season. So that is hard. That was a little hard on our family, but we're making it work. And, he's able to pop in and out when needed, since we have that flexibility of him working from home. So honestly, like I said, it all happened so fast. It just, like, I denied I was in labor. I didn't really recognize it until, I think you need to come in, Alex. I think we're going to need to leave soon. The funny thing is, though, that my mom was planning a baby sprinkle, like a little baby shower, for me on the 10th, that Friday, on that night. And I had texted her the day before saying that that I was just feeling off. I had my most off day. And, like, I had gone and worked out on Thursday. That morning at 5:15 in the morning, I had moved my body. I had to modify a lot of things. Then I was craving veggies like crazy. Like, I was like, I just want raw veggies. We don't have any in the house. I'm going to the store on my way home. So I went to Woodman's and I loaded up randomly on a bunch of veggies early in the morning. I went about my day, and then I just started to feel like I should really repack my hospital bag, because I had it in a smaller bag because I couldn't find the actual bag I used last time, and then I did. And so it's been sitting there for a couple of days, and I was like, I think I need to pack that. So I packed that up, and then I just kind of felt off all day. Like, I didn't really want to squat down a whole lot. I just felt a lot of pressure. I wasn't feeling any cramps or any of that kind of stuff, but then I had Winston picking up things for me more often than not. Like, can you get that for me? Because I didn't want to bend down. So that was different. And then, I had texted my mom just saying that I was feeling off, and that in the afternoon, like, I had the urge to tie up all loose ends and pack that bag, and I did a couple random errands. I went and picked up a pickup at Fleet Farm for some mason jars. I don't know. And then I was like, I want custard. We're going to get custard. So we went to Culver's, and I picked up the 4 pints for the deal or whatever and brought it back. The boys were excited. But I just really wanted custard that night. Okay. And typically Culver's custard doesn't even sit well in my stomach, but that's what I ate. And then, so I had told Alex, like, I'm just kind of feeling off. I don't really know. Don't know. And then my mom messaged me, and she's like, I wonder if the barometric pressure from the winter storm is what spurred things along. Or if it will spur things along. So we had a winter storm rolling in that Thursday night into Friday. Like, we got like 6 inches of snow. I don't know, 6 to 8. And so I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe we'll have to see if that actually affects my body. So I ended that night on Thursday, the 9th. Like, I just felt like I had to stretch a little bit more. I was doing it around, like, the kids were around and Alex was done with work, and I was sitting on the ball, doing some hip circles and some pelvic rocks. And then I was leaning over the ball in some relaxing positions to relieve pressure. Like, duh, Gabby, that should have been a sign. Like, hello, like, stuff is happening. But I wasn't like moaning or in pain. I just felt uncomfortable and just needed some extra movement. I don't know. I think at one point I was, had my knees on my couch and the head on the floor, like I was trying to do an inversion during the day. And Winston's like, Mom, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just trying to help the baby not put so much pressure on me, just going upside down. So I just kind of had hinted to Alex that I was feeling off, a little crampy at the end of the night after the kids went to bed, but I really just kind of denied it and poo-pooed it. Like, we'll just go to bed. But I was actually having to kind of work through them. Like, they actually distracted me enough to be like, this is slightly painful, but, like, I don't know. It wasn't, I just assumed, well, whatever, I'm just having crampies. And I did have a midwife appointment earlier that day, and I had just felt like I was leaking a lot of fluid and mucus and stuff. But it wasn't my water, because I was like, maybe my water broke or it's leaking. And I was like, no, it's not. And my midwife explained to me what it would look like if my water was leaking. I was like, no, that's probably not it. It's probably just all this extra mucus. So I was probably losing my mucus plug slowly over the course of like Wednesday and Thursday, where I was just like, man, this just feels like a lot. This feels like extra. And so I went to bed Thursday night, and I did not sleep good at all. Went to bed with all the crampies and just feeling like uncomfortable. They woke me up frequently, maybe not every single one, but they woke me up, and I actually had to just like breathe through them. I wasn't moaning through them. I wasn't like cringing hard or like, Alex, I need you. Like, it was just more like, okay, we're just gonna work through it. And it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to put words to. But so slept awful. And there were moments, it was like 2 or 3 a.m. And I'm like, do I dare text my mom? Because she's an hour away and I wanted her to be here in time. I was like, if this is it, do I dare text her, like, or call her and tell her to come? And I was like, no, it is the worst time of the snowstorm for her to even drive. I don't want her to. We're going to be fine. We're going to make it to the morning. So I didn't call her, but I was having dreams about it that I should. And so we got to the early morning. What they were now were contractions. Now that I'm seeing it all in hindsight, they were manageable. But we did get dumped on with snow, and Alex debated whether or not he should shovel at 4:30 in the morning, because he gets up for work about 4:15 to shower and goes in. And he was like, do I shovel now, or should I just wait until it stops maybe around like 10 or 11 and I could go out? Because he knew like it needed to be done, because I think I told him my mom, oh no, I didn't tell him my mom was coming. So yeah, I don't know. He just had this feeling, because probably how I was sort of communicating myself, even though he said I did a bad job keeping him in the loop. He shuffled. He was like, he's like, I'll just do it now. Something just told him to do it early in the morning, and good thing. So I was up since 4:30, like basically since I knew he got up. I had laid in bed for like an hour trying to just relax and fall back asleep, hopefully, and I just couldn't. And I texted him. I was like, are you still shoveling? And, I was like, I can't sleep. I slept awful. I think I'm just going to get up. And so by 5:30, I just told him, I'm going to make some coffee and I'm just going to go downstairs and read. So I do that, and I'm sitting in the chair trying to, read, and I'm actually having to pause to work through more contractions. So then here I am texting my mom and my mother-in-law before 6 a.m. or like just after 6, I can't remember, just giving them a heads up of how I was feeling. And they're all like, yeah, they're getting the feeling that I'm in labor. So my mom was planning that sprinkle for me, and she was like, well, just let me know if you want me to cancel it. And so I was like, you know what, just wait, let me see. And then not even an hour later, I call her back, and I was like, I'm just gonna need you to cancel that. I can't drive an hour away from my home and my hospital, and with the way I'm feeling, I'm not even gonna be able to engage with you guys if this continues. So she was like, no worries, I'll send out messages. And then she had offered for her and my sisters. They are, my 2 younger sisters are 11 and 12. And so she said that they could come out and just help me. And I was like, yes, please come. And she was like, we'll be there in the afternoon or something. And I must have said something to her. I don't know. And she's like, well, we'll be there as soon as we can. We'll be there before noon. Like, hurry up, Mom, get your butt here. So it was, just kind of a wild morning. And then like checking in with my mother-in-law to make sure that she was like, are you still okay being on call? Come get the kids. I'm feeling kind of off. Just kind of feeling out your weekend. Is this? And she's like, yep, just keep us posted. Do you think you're in labor? Like, she's asking me. I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'm in early labor. I don't know. You'd think I'd figure this out by now, by my 4th child. I was not in early labor. Okay, so then, my mom cancels the party. And that whole morning, I just felt like that early morning, I felt like I had to poop a lot. I just felt like I had to go to the bathroom or just sit on the toilet because it's just relaxing, that like you get to the toilet and you can just go. It's a very calming and relaxing position to just relieve pressure and stuff. So it felt like I had to go, but sometimes I didn't have to, and sometimes I did. Which better get it all out here than better at the hospital, right? So then, my kids get up, and I'm distracted by my kids. I mean, I ate breakfast with them. I think I made like sausage and eggs or toast or something. And just distracted with them and their needs and getting them ready in the morning. And then I was like, we're just going to put on a movie. Snow day, like it's cold out. We're not going out. I'm kind of feeling off. Let's just finish, our movie that we didn't the other night. And so I popped up the movie, and I'm laying on the couch on my side with a ball, like my exercise ball, because I don't have a peanut ball. I wish I did. So it was a little uncomfortable, but I made it work because I wanted to open my hips up. So I just put one leg on top of the ball. I was just laying on my side just to open my pelvis and engage, help the baby's head engage. These are all like crazy natural instincts, guys. Like I denied it so much, yet I was doing all the things that my body was saying you need to do in order to help this baby come. But yet I was saying she's not coming yet. I thought I had time. I tried timing my contractions and kept getting distracted, or like, shoot, I forgot to hit the button, or some kid needed something and then I forgot to hit the button when the next one came. But I could work through them. I was just snuggling my kids, and I remember taking a picture of all of us near the couch, and Juliet was snuggled next to me, and we're watching the movie. I took a picture just to remember, like, I labored at home with my children. Like, what a sweet thing. And knowing Alex was right outside, I think was just super comforting. Like, well, he's just gonna be able to be in here ASAP if I need him. So I kind of kept him in the loop. He knew I was tired. He saw me sleeping at one point in the morning on the couch. He saw the ball out. Those kinds of things. So he did remind me to do another hip opening move where I put one foot elevated like on a stool and I rock back and forth. That also helps opening up the pelvis. So then I don't know, I was laying there and I was just the movie was done. And I was just realizing how crabby I was getting with my kids. I think my mom had messaged, I'm on my way. And then like our movie was over and I was just really crabby with the kids. And I was like, having to pause like a little more frequently. And so I decided that I should probably pack their bags because, no better time than last minute for that. And I was heading upstairs to go pack their bags and I couldn't even pack their clothes without having to stop every 3 to 4 to 5 minutes ish to focus and breathe and like lay on the floor. Like I couldn't even focus. So I texted Alex and I said, I feel like this is Titus's birth, just like Titus's birth. And I told you that was the one I wanted to redo. And I said, I'm wondering when to call your mom. And he comes inside and I was like, he's like, where are you? I was like, I'm upstairs. I was like, you need to pack the kids' clothes. And he's like, I think you need to call my mom now. So I went downstairs. My mom walks in the door. And they get there at 11:45. And I'm like, hey, Mom. She's like, hi. I was like, funny thing. So I think we're actually going to be leaving soon. And she was like, oh, okay. I thought we were just going to like hang out at the house and help you for a little while. And I like packed an overnight bag, but I didn't know. I was like, I didn't know either. But it was like my mind and my body knew it. Once I knew my mom was on her way, like I knew that I needed to just get her to my house and then all could keep going, all could progress, which is so crazy. So she got there at like 11:45. I'm calling my mother-in-law. I'm calling the hospital, letting them know like we're coming. Alex is packing the bags. My mom is unloading things that she had for the baby sprinkle, like I had a new baby mattress and like she had clothes and then she was bringing just things for my freezer. And so she just like dumped all this stuff in the home. And then I'm like, okay, girls, you're going to stay with the kids until my mother-in-law comes. My neighbor's home if you need to get in touch with anyone. And they stayed. And then my mother-in-law picked everybody up at my house because we had left already. But it was crazy. Alex packed the bags. He was like, you could have given me some more heads up. He's like, I got to go back out to the office and close a couple things up. And I was like, that's fine. That's totally fine. So he went out and did that, and we're packing up everything that we need, and he got the kids all packed up, and I was like, oh, you know what? Let's quick take a last family picture. So we take our last family photo at 12:15 or 12:11. The timestamp was. I went back and looked at it. We leave. We get to the hospital about 12:30. Okay, and let's see. So we get there at 12:30, and it was like just enough time for me to be able to sign their waivers and do all their stuff. Because most people don't go to the hospital about as far as long as I am. Because when I got there with Titus, I didn't even know, I don't remember the elevator ride. I don't remember walking to my room. I remember nothing. I couldn't even sign papers. They're like, sorry, you're going to have to just send it with us up to our room. She's going to sign later. Or whatever. And so I had a moment to be able to still do that. I was still in my right mind, and all was fine. I just laugh when I'm like, will I be able to sign the papers? Will I be able to do it? So we got there, and so we'll just say we got there at 12:30. A little preview. She was born by 1:41. So that is how fast things had gone. I'm just so thankful that we were able to avoid all of the snowy weather. Like the roads were fine. It honestly felt like spring out there despite seeing all the snow on the ground. That's what my mom actually had written when she was journaling things, that it was the birds are singing and it feels like spring regardless of all the snow. But we were able just to hop on the freeway and fly to the hospital with enough time. Had to stop in the parking lot to work through a contraction before getting in. So yeah, we made it, and I really was curious how far dilated I was. I was very curious, and because they were like, well, we want to check you. And I was like, yes, I would like to know how far along I am. And so our nurse, she had gotten me all set up in the bed. I had came in and changed into a gown. I had my nursing bra on that I kept on underneath, but then I just put the hospital gown on and took off all my other clothes and got set up on the bed because just doing some general, they want to hook up and check monitoring of me and baby's heart rate, and check, my vitals and stuff like that. So whatever, no big deal. We did that for a little while, but she checked me then shortly after she got me on the bed and stuff, and she said I was 7 centimeters, and I was like, whoa, we're doing it. We're in that home stretch here. I made it in just enough time. And she was like, so when you called the hospital, this is the nurse talking, she said that, Gabriella Flater called, and, she's in labor, and I think we'll just, we're checking her in, and they were just going to check me into, like, triage or just, like, basic, just a basic area or room or whatever. I don't know. I've never gone to any other place in the hospital. And when I've been in labor. And so she looks at my history, the nurse does, and she sees my 3 other births, and she was like, it looks like she actually comes when she's ready to have the baby, so we need to get her a room ready. And I told the nurse, I thanked her before her shift ended, and again for that. I was like, thank you so much for doing that, because we would not have had enough time if we were messing around with that, and I didn't have a room ready. So I really appreciate you checking my birth history and vouching for me and making sure to have this room ready, because that meant a lot. So again, we love the nurses at this hospital. So okay, I was 7 centimeters. They were checking the heart rate. Everything was looking good on the monitors, and just working through contractions. In between them asking me questions and having blood work done, they alerted my midwife right away. They were like, we're going to let Jess know that she should come. And I was like, okay, good. So Jess was able to be there. My midwife, she was available only till 4 p.m. So I was like, okay, we're going to have this baby before 4. And I was like, that's definitely feeling like it's going to happen. And she got there at, let's see, I think my mom wrote like 1:02, but so I was being monitored, I was hooked up, and then my water broke while I was sitting on the bed. I was like, I'm pretty sure my water just broke. And then my midwife shows up just after that, and then she wanted to just check the cervix and all that stuff. So she checked all that, and then I eventually was like, I was like, can I be unhooked? They're like, you can walk around. We can, if you want. And I'm like, yeah, can we unhook me? Because we're good. I'd like to be able to walk around and, work through these contractions. So, the nursing staff, they, looked over our birth plan, that we had sent over, and we just kind of covered those things over the time. They were just asking us some questions, and, really just no pressure from them. No pressure from the staff, really, and no needs of no meds, no IV, all those kinds of things. They, we just politely declined some things and, reassure them, thank you for giving us the options and telling us all of our, what we can choose from. And so they were like, yeah, no, that's totally fine. So just working through the contractions, they definitely are between the 3, sometimes 2 minutes apart. My mom had been writing them down, trying her best to write the different times down. But I would talk about different things with them between contractions a little bit, but then they started to get a little bit more like intense. So, knowing my water had broken, I was like, all right, we're we're in the home stretch. So I was walking around the room, squatting at the end of the bed. I leaned over Alex for one of them. I remember just asking him to come so I could lean on him, leaning over the counter, just swaying back and forth, just working through them, breathing deep. I mean, that is the goal, is just such deep breathing. And then my midwife asked if I wanted to try a different position, if I wanted to get on all fours. And I was like, you know what, actually, yeah, let's try that. And so it's funny, actually, because when I got there, they were like, do you want the birth ball? And I was like, no, I use that all at home. I don't need that anymore. Like, I was very adamant, like, no, I'm not interested, because that was not going to help me. And so I went onto the bed and hung over the edge of the bed. Like, it's in a reclined position. So, I was hanging over the back of the bed, my knees on the other half of the bed, and just squeezing the pillow when the contractions would come, breathing through them. So my water broke at 1, midwife came at 1:02, and then, let's see, my mom had contractions. She wrote them down. It was like 109, 114, 121, 122. And then she wrote at 126. It was a hard one. And I know exactly which one she was talking about, because my sound changed, my moaning. It was like very painful. I remember it. And Alex even, because it's my mom's first time, her first experience. And so they were just commenting, I could hear them having their conversation as they're watching me. This is when I was hooked up on the monitor. And I'm working through contractions, and they're like, he was like, see, look at her, look at her eyes and her intense face. You can tell when she's like working through these. And then like, it was, those were and then the later contractions. So like the 126, that was a really hard one. And then there was 137 and 138. My mom wrote groaning or whatever. Super funny. And Alex had commented, she said about he's about my eyes and just how intense they look, just, when I'm working through it. And then all of a sudden my body just relaxes when I'm not. So then when I had that super painful contraction when I was on all fours, I kind of freaked out. I've really only labored. I had Juliet on my side. I was laying on my side. The boys, I was both sitting with, like I propped my knees up and back, like not sitting upright, but like, I don't know, kind of the basic position. But the first time was because I had major back pain, and it's because he was facing the wrong way. That was like my back got run over by a bus. So anyway, I like the back pressure. I like the counter pressure when I'm pushing. I like to feel it against my back. I don't know why. So I kind of freaked out because I was like, I kind of want to try a new position when I push the baby out. But I then freaked out, flipped over, had my back against the bed, and I ended up delivering her that way again, which I shouldn't be upset about it because it went totally smooth and totally fine. It's just, you hear, let gravity work with you, let it work, for you. And if you're squatting, if you're down, gravity will go down, the baby will come down and out. So it's okay. But I remember I flipped over and I had a couple other contractions, and then I was like, I feel her. I feel the urge. I feel her coming. I feel her head. And then they like get all their stuff going, and they look and they're like, yep, we see the head, Gabby. Okay, it's time. And then it was like, I pushed, her head came out. Apparently they had to unwrap the cord from her head 2 times. But just her head had come out, and then my contraction had stopped. And they said, Gabby, we need you to keep going. We need to get her shoulders out because they don't want, she took a breath. Like she can't go back in. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I am dying here. I'm so tired. And I was like, okay. And they were like helping me, like coaching me. The nurse was awesome. Loved her. Alex is next to me. And they're like, come on, gotta give us one more push. That's all we need. And and I mustered up the energy and the courage despite the pain and just being tired, pushed, and she came out, and it was all done. She came out at 1:41. So I said, I feel the urge that she's coming, and my mom wrote that down at 1:40, and she was born that next minute or two. I don't know. It happened so fast. So I'm just, yeah. In my head, I knew the minute she comes out, that's when all the pain is gone. Like, most of the pain, like the hard stuff. So that's honestly what gets me through. It's like, you just got to cross that finish line and you're literally done. I said that on my other podcast. Like, you cross that marathon finish line and it's just done. You have the baby and you feel no more. Like, it's instant relief. So that was what really pushed me to get through that last final push. And I was like, okay, I can do this. My body was made for this, and it'll be over once I finish this last push. Like, that was it. So yep, we were just praising God and so thankful that she was here, and we were able to have her skin to skin and bonding right away, and have tried nursing and all of the things, which is also still so fascinating, just how they come out and they know exactly what to do, and it's just a sweet moment. I feel so happy. I feel so happy that just in my mind, you play out all the things, all the scenarios, and I'm just so grateful for Alex. I'm grateful for my mom and for the hospital and the nursing staff that just made it happen. And that God just really helped me be in tune with my body. Kind of just, he gave me peace along the way. And I'm so thankful that I was able to labor at home for majority of it and be home with my kids. Even though I'm not having a home birth, I was able to do a majority of it at home, and that is what works for me. And some people are like, oh my gosh, Gabby, like, how do you even know when to go? Like, how do you know when to go? And like that you even want to get in the car to leave. And I was like, I don't know. It just happens. It just happens. But Alex and I work real well together. He senses things when I don't, and vice versa. And sorry, that was a big yawn. Yeah, we just go with it, and really grateful for how the whole thing turned out. My mom, it was just so sweet to have her there. She had not been able to experience something like that before. And she had 5 of us kids. All 5 of us were C-sections. And so just not having experienced it for herself fully, and witnessing any of that. So I wanted to give her the opportunity to be able to have that and share that experience together, not knowing if this is our last or not. And she was just so grateful to be there, and we were too. I remember saying to her at one point, I was like, Mom, I think this was after my water broke, and I'm working through the contractions while I'm walking around the room, and I was like, Mom, you're probably going to see a whole different side of me. And she just laughed. But I wasn't, having her in the room didn't change anything at all for me. Like, I just was me and how I normally did birth. But she was like, you made it look so easy. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. So post-birth, they do all the cleanup and all the checking and all of those things. So I happened to actually bleed a little bit extra. So obviously, you have the baby and then you deliver your placenta the next thing. And then it's typically a hospital thing, not necessarily what midwives would do if you birth at home, but they like push on your belly to help all the other blood clots come out, and the uterus to kind of start tightening and firming back up. And that is not very comfortable for them to push on your belly after you just engaged it to push out a child. So I had a little extra bleeding, mild hemorrhaging, and I never had that with my other kids, but I was reaching a point of, they measure the amount of blood loss through like your pads and the bed pads that you're laying on and things like that. And she was just nervous. She tends to be more on the conservative side, she said, our nurse. And she's like, knowing you and what could end up happening, I don't think you want those other interventions to happen. And so I'm wondering if you would consider just taking either like a Pitocin or a form of Pitocin called Cytotec to help with the firming up of the uterus and help the bleeding to slow down. And so we talked about it, and so we just decided to do it, and it definitely helped for sure. I did the Cytotec, which she inserted in my rectum, and that was how it helped. So I was grateful for that, because definitely just didn't want extra bleeding to then lead to more issues. So our little girl, Estella, Ruth, came into the world at 6 pounds, 5 ounces, 20 inches long. Again, just the awesome nurses, and Alex as my biggest support and anchor. We have journeyed through now our 4th birth together as obviously husband and wife, but we took a course that just really, it's a husband coached birth, and just really grateful for that, as much as he was resistant to it way back when. Feels like ages ago. It really kicked us off into a good start for growing our family and doing it together, and being on the same page. Him and I are on the same page about it all. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to have that together. And so we stayed at the hospital. My mom left a little while later, and our kids had made it safely. I think they just made it home to my in-laws by the time my mom texted saying that the baby was here. It's wild how fast all of that happened. And my back, it had really hurt. I think from that last final push, it just killed. And it did when we got home and everything too. But at the hospital, it was more back pain, and I was asking for a heating pad, and I was so uncomfortable. Those hospital beds are just not the best. But they actually were allowing kids to finally come, siblings to come visit. And so we were like, yes, please. We would love that, with all the rules, the COVID stuff, that just wasn't happening as much. So my in-laws drove all the way out with the kids. They got to meet their baby sister there with us, and it was just such a sweet and chaotic, because I've got a 6, 3, and 1-year-old all in the room, and with fun buttons and things to play with. So we got to do that and take some photos and have that special bonding moment with our kids, and then they left. And we stayed for a full 24 hours, and then we went home, and we kind of got settled in. Our kids stayed one more night over at my in-laws, so we could go to bed and wake up in the morning without having to be fully immersed in it all. That's that. That's the birth story. God is good, and we're just grateful things went smooth, that we had a little extra time to settle in before I hit that transition point. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I know I'm in transition when my legs are shaking. I literally start, it's like an uncontrollable feeling. So that happened when I was on the monitor sitting and my water broke. And then I remember sitting there and I could see the blanket moving, like my legs just were shaking. And so, yeah, we're just thankful that we had time to settle in before I hit that. Because with Titus, I basically like came as I was in transition. I came already having all those feelings. So we're glad that we gave ourselves an extra, 30 to 40 minutes than Titus's birth. So I appreciate you guys tuning in for all the support and all the love. It's wild to think we're on the other side. We have 4 children. I did it again. I remember the feelings in the couple, like the month leading up, like going to bed and being like haunted by, I have to do this again. Not that it was a bad thing, but it was like, can I do it? Can I do this again? I don't know if I can. Like, I'm giving myself the pep talk and having to really work through some of that because there's so many unknowns. You don't know how it's going to start, when it's going to start, how long it's going to last, like none of that. And so I was just like, all right, I got to buckle up and be ready for this again. And yeah, and somehow it just happens. So I just want to thank you guys for, again, listening to this, and I hope it encourages you. And if you have questions, like, message me. I love answering questions, helping, give resources or things that helped me along the way. But it's such an empowering thing to bring life into this world. It's crazy wild. And if there's any way that I can support you and help you navigate what you want, whether it's, wanting to have some of it medicated or, using it all or do unmedicated, like, you have to do what is best for you. But again, as always, as I've said on the show, is just inform yourself of all the things and then make your decision from that, rather than just going off of what the protocol is, and protocol in like air quotes, and what doctors and nurses say has to happen, because you're the one paying them in essence for all that's going on, and they're there to serve you and help you, and you can speak up for yourself, and you can use your voice, and you can choose. You can say yes, you can say no. So just be prepared for that, and prepare yourself, and walk into it empowered and feeling confident. And, I feel Alex and I have been able to navigate that stuff much better. And especially after we've also had to navigate the medical world with our son, we have to rely on, the medical world. And that is something, and I want to do an episode on this with my son's bleeding disorder, raising awareness around it. But I think it was God's way of saying, look, I know how natural you are and how holistic and how, just naturally minded you are, Gabby, but I'm going to give you something that almost basically forces you to rely on the medical world and the advances that are there. And God has definitely worked on me through that, and it could be a lot worse, but we're grateful for what has come so far in the medical world, to be able to help our son. And we will need it forever. He will need it forever. Nothing we do naturally can fix this. That's not how it gets fixed. So yeah, that's where we're at. So, anyway, if you loved this episode, I would love your feedback. I would love to know, just your thoughts, or maybe you had a similar experience, or you just want to share your story. Like, I love chatting about it all. If you think of it to send it to someone who you know would be encouraged by this or just loves a good birth story. Feel free to send that over to them as well. But I appreciate you all tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. Be well.